My goodness, Thomas, we finished that video. I have it already uploaded. It's called Who's Gonna Have the Last Laugh? And I realized that we didn't get our question answered about who Guccifer 2.0 is. So will you jump back on and explain that?
Well, yes, I will, because I really wasn't finished with the story. But the tape was too long. See, that's how old I am. The recording was too long. I don't like to make people go that long. That's the reason I talk so fast. But then, of course, you might not understand. But I got to go on with the story because I can't just give you the punchline until you see the evidence, and then you will understand the punchline yourself. Okay, so here you got Comey creating a dossier where Alexei Gubarev is named as the hacker of the Democratic National Committee's server. But at the same time, that wasn't supposed to come out. So when Alexei Gubarev sued Christopher Steele, who wrote the fake dossier, or at least accumulated it, that court case still continues. And then they changed the judge from Judge Chutkan to Judge Leon. And that's so that the case can be protected here in D.C., just like they did with the Fusion GPS case. So what you see is just, again, continuous collusion has to be from the inside. That's the SES. That's from all branches, all working together. How could that happen that they all work together in a conspiracy like this? You would say that's impossible. But once you understand the SES and the way that it works, then you will say it's not impossible. That's standard operating procedure. So Obama's still in charge, and he's still leading the resistance, along with Valerie Jarrett, of course. So what did Comey do next? He tried instantaneously, when he heard that there was a breach in his small mind. He didn't understand it could be proven that it wasn't a hack because it was a breach. So he created Guccifer 2.0. Now, what hacker would name themselves after a hacker who's locked up in jail? That doesn't even make any sense. That's what geeks do. So he went to William Priestap and good old Peter Strzok in the counterintelligence department, and they started a counterintelligence operation. Now, let's follow that counterintelligence operation because it's absolutely hysterical. This Guccifer 2.0 became extremely vocal about the fact that he had hacked the DNC. And instead of giving information out as a prelude and as a response, this came actually before WikiLeaks, it was a prelude and a response from the Democrats and Comey of what they were going to do about the Russian collusion that Hillary was in. They created the story that the Russian had hacked and that hacker's name was Guccifer 2.0. And then they insinuated early on, he said he was Romanian, and because this became a furor, this went out on the web and everyone went crazy. Roger Stone got connected to it because it was such a big deal that this hacker, Guccifer 2.0, said, no, it wasn't the Russians, it was me. And I have the stuff. And if you want it, you got to pay for it. And this was before WikiLeaks released Podesta and Hillary's emails and the DNC leaks, right? Well, now think about that. This guy, Guccifer 2.0, has the content? Oh, no. In a minute, we're going to analyze the content. But it's even before WikiLeaks. And then when WikiLeaks comes out, they say, what? WikiLeaks is Russian. And they say the Russians hacked it and gave it to WikiLeaks. Then they say, Russians, in the dossier it says Alexei Gubarev. They kept looking around for a Russian they could pin it on, even Kim.com. I don't know. He was going to say he was working for the Russians, I guess. Yes, that's the way the story went. But what really happened was they simply did it themselves. They took the content, which was not a leak. Look at what Guccifer 2.0 released. And then he got into a battle, by the way, online with Dmitry Alperovitch and CrowdStrike. Once CrowdStrike came out and said the Russians hacked, he came out and said, no, I hacked. And here's the proof. I gave this release long before you were supposedly even called on the case. But I just didn't release it. I just said people could buy it. Nobody bought it. So I had it. I said I had it. Well, what is that? That's another Comey cover-up that's so pathetic, that's done out of the FBI counterintelligence department. This was a counterintelligence operation that, again, was severely botched. And this is the reason it was botched. Because later, this same Guccifer miraculously hacked the DCCC, which Dmitry Alperovitch had been given access to, and hacked the DC leaks, this material that was also government material, which Imran Alwan also had access to and Dmitry Alperovitch had access to. So the same access that Imran Alwan had, both in the Congress with the DCCC, 80 Congress people, and all their Blackberries, their iPads, their computers, everything, all shifted to an off-site proxy and then international. It was being sold, of course. Well, Guccifer 2 had to cover up that, didn't he? Especially if Guccifer 2 was Comey. Because when they actually looked into it, they went, holy moly! After the second breach, and CrowdStrike still came up with their stupid stuff that they came up with in December, which, by the way, nobody knows that much. What I'm speaking about came from Inspector General investigations of the Congress because of the Imran Alwan espionage scandal. It comes from a court case releases, depositions, and it came from government action and or also the very words of the people that I'm quoting. So I'm not a madman. This is all easily documented and it's in our intelligence reports. So they came up with Guccifer 2.0 and they tried to prove to us that Guccifer 2.0 had leaked. Well, look at the documents. The documents were doctored. They even had the name of a person who didn't even work there anymore as the person who put them into a Word document and redid them so that they would not have the real information. So they were doctored before they were presented. WikiLeaks never does that. No whistleblower does that. And I'm suspicious if anyone does that whatever they retyped, I'm sorry, I want to see the original. So Guccifer 2.0 was a complete idiot from the beginning. No one would buy his stuff. No one believed him. No one believed he hacked the DNC, and he was bragging about it before it even became news. Then the WikiLeaks came out and they went, oh my, it must have been, and notice that they attributed it to other Russians. Not Guccifer 2.0. They didn't use that scenario until much later. So here's Guccifer 2.0 claiming it, showing that he had the documents, and then redoctored them, or doctored them up. And yet you have the official story saying, no, the Russians hacked in and gave it to WikiLeaks, and WikiLeaks said, no. He almost said that he got them from Sethridge. Someday we'll find out. Of course, the first batch was from Sethridge. The second batch, we don't know where it's from, but we know exactly the date that it was delivered, and that it was delivered by a person, and that it was a jump drive. And I mean, I guess we're just going to ignore the fact that Craig Murray went on record and described the whole scene, and of course, he has passed away since. But the point is, we know where it came from. So the Guccifer 2.0 was trying to cover up for it, and they did a very, very bad job. And then what did they do? They followed what Dmitry Alperovitch did find, was that all Dmitry Alperovitch had to do was talk to Debbie Wasserman-Schultz's top IT guy that she raised up from being a criminal in the Congress and not allowed to touch anything, Imran Alwan, I'm speaking of. And she refused to fire him and raised his pay, which was higher than the pay of Congress people. It's so sad. And she brought him over just to the DNC and made him an advisor who was even in charge of the man who was in charge of the DNC server debacle and the Hillary Clinton debacle. So there Imran Alwan was protected by Debbie Wasserman-Schultz as she fought to get her laptop back and to try to protect him. He is yet to be charged. He is the person who set up what you would call the espionage collection mechanism. Well, when Dmitry Alperovitch came upon this, because all he had to do was listen to the other IT people in the Congress who were all screaming about the Imran Alwan scandal happening before their eyes, that these people never come to work, they make more than everybody, they don't know what they're doing, they have 190 breaches in 1 year of security violations. Imran Alwan was the worst ever, and yet nothing, crickets. Okay, Dmitry came over, he put on his Falcon spyware which is really a spyware. It allows him to go in from the outside. And now he has spyware, just like Imran Alwan had spyware, which was called a thin client. That's what Imran used. But he used a thing called Falcon, a proprietary supposed virus stopper, but it also monitors everything and records everything and freezes everything and then sends out a memory package every once in a while, just like Imran Alwan's did. And as far as we know, and as the IT people have reported, though they've now kind of hushed them up, it was running long after all of this was found out. And the IG found it out and recommended prosecution on all these points I'm saying for espionage. Nothing happened. The DOJ, what did they do? They assigned one junior first-year FBI agent, and we haven't heard a report yet. And the judge, that was another fix. That judge was, of course, placed there to make sure that Imran would get out. And so what we're talking about is they realized what had happened because they're too stupid. Gregory Meeks brought the Imran Pakistanis in, and they always said, anytime he said anything about them, it was race profiling. Oh, whoa. How'd they get their clearance? That's what I want to know. How did any of them get their clearance, seeing they didn't even show up for work? And the badges record when you come in and out, so they know that they weren't even there. I mean, why were these people protected? But anyway, Dmitry Alperovich ran into that. He saw that, and he says, oh, whoa, I want to get a piece of this pie. So he put his spyware on Hillary's server, on the DNC, on all of it, that he was supposedly helping get rid of the spyware, which he made up this story. When later he was accused of being an idiot because it couldn't have been a hack. It had to be a breach because they actually have the computer imprints of the speed of which it was transferred. He made up some crazy lies, as he always does, and now he's silent, and he wasn't investigated, and no one ever talked to him, and the one page that he gave as supposedly his report was, anyone who looked at it said this is just sheer garbage, but we can take what's on here and demonstrate that what he has said is completely wrong. And so when he went from the DNC to this and saw that this had happened in Congress through 80 members of Democrat members of Congress, through Nancy Pelosi ordering them to go with Imran Alwan's espionage collection service, he saw that was going on. So he put Falcon upon the DCCC. He also put it on other systems. And because of that, he got a backdoor, just like Imran Alwan did, to their committees. And if you look at the House Intelligence Committee, for a year and a half, they wrote letters trying to get Imran Alwan top secret security clearance of the highest level to go into the SCIF. Why? No IT person ever had that. But they got it, and he did. Let's ask the people who wrote those letters why they did that. That's what Mueller should be investigating. So, not only was Imran monitoring all of that, which means the committees, and I'm going to get to that in a second why I mentioned that, but Dmitry Alperovich came in, put on Falcon, and did the same thing. From a distance, in Russia, wherever he wanted to be, didn't matter. He could get exactly what these Democrats were saying, even in their secret committees, even behind doors. All of it. Sell it to anyone they wanted. So that's what was going on. What was going on to our Congress is what was going on with Google and Facebook and Twitter during the election. They gathered everything up into your profile, and then they learned how to control you. So that's what these people were probably doing. They gathered everything up, blackmail, whatever, the money they're being paid, these sex payoffs like Al Green and Gregory Meeks and John Conyers. And, all they had to do was get their BlackBerry communications talking to the ethics committee in the Congress that paid out $17 million to cover their sexual abuse. And hey, hello, he's got the names. Of course, Imran Alwan has the names. And of course, Dmitry Alperovich has all of that. What did you expect when you asked a Russian spy who'd been arrested by the FBI and turned to be an FBI agent and then worked in the CIA front called McAfee and AT, which was before that? American Trust, I think it was called. Whenever they have those names, it's the really corrupt people. So what did CrowdStrike do with it? Nothing. They lied. So what did Guccifer 2.0 say? He had access to the DNC server. He acted like he had access to some of Hillary's stuff, certainly John Podesta's and Hillary's emails. He didn't act like but he spoke about it, but he never printed the damnable material that WikiLeaks printed. And that shows you Guccifer 2.0 is fake. He never printed the damnable emails or content. He would take articles written or that could be found on the internet, mix them in with this weird thing to make it look like he was a Russian, and then they'd give you sections of things. He would give you, Guccifer 2.0, give you sections of things, and then that would be the document. And you go, but wait, this document's been glued together, it's fake, and everything's wrong, and it doesn't tell you what you need to know. So out of all the stuff he gave, because I went through every bit of it, nothing was evidence. Nothing. And everything that Julian Assange gave you, from the breach from Seth Rich and the second breach that went to Craig Murray, and that's where he got it. But mind you, the same content went to Pakistan, it went to Russia, it went to anybody who did pay for play with Hillary, which means Huma Abedin simply just made sure they had the access, the password, which was password. Then what happened? Guccifer comes out, Guccifer 2.0, and not only reveals these fake documents from the DNC, but then starts to reveal stupid fake documents from the Congress. And you're going, wait a second. How did Guccifer 2.0 get access to the Congress? Same way that Imran Awan did, same way Dmitry Alperovitch did. Or else they just simply went to the server that it was all running through in an office from a congressman who had deserted that office, and the FBI plugged into it and went, oh, look at all this. Oh, well, here we go. Now, so anybody could have been Guccifer 2.0, but it was undoubtedly Comey because it was botched, and it was badly botched, because here you have Guccifer fighting with Dmitry Alperovitch, and Dmitry Alperovitch going, no, you weren't in there before I was, and Guccifer 2.0 going, I printed the stuff. What do you mean I wasn't in there before you were? No, nobody else besides the Russians hacked it. I hacked it. I went in there and hacked it. I got the material. I showed everybody. Dmitry, you're an idiot. Here's the material. How could I have this material if I didn't hack it myself? And then they argued back and forth. Then Roger Stone got involved. And when Roger Stone started talking to Guccifer 2.0, he's now going to be sued because of some obscure connection to some woman's child who got hurt because she believed something that came through Roger Stone's conversation with Guccifer 2.0. The stupidest lawsuit I've ever heard in my entire life. But anyway, Roger Stone's still fighting it, losing all his money fighting this. And so people argued with Guccifer 2.0 and said, no, you're not a Russian. Well, then answer this question. And he couldn't. And so he stayed online for quite a while to keep up the Russian mythology. But then here's why I know it's absolutely the same espionage line, which of course was found out by Mueller. It was found out by Comey. Of course, it was found out by Andrew McCabe, the expert on Russia and national security in the FBI. Of course, it was found out by Priest-Tab and by... They all have to have known this. And so what did they do? They just made it available to everybody, made it a big cartoon. And then Guccifer 2.0 went nuts and started releasing things like DC leaks and other things. And so I read them all. Not one single speck of damnable information. Matter of fact, there was some setup information that shows you that it was a counterintelligence operation because they pointed out that Soros was going to take over Kazakhstan in 2017. And in fact, well, we got people thanking us from Kazakhstan when we told them that, when we looked at it initially and said, hey, look, y'all better get ready. He's taking you down. So Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, 2 or 3 other Russian satellites, USSR satellite countries, that he was trying to take over with his color revolutions, kicked him out of the country, sued him, closed down his university, so on and so forth. So maybe that stopped it. But the point is, they went into the Open Society's, George Soros's foundation, and looked at their personal notes, which shows that basically they are a militant Marxist communist group overthrowing governments. So if you don't believe what we've told you, you want the proof, go to DC Leaks. Well, why would they release that? Because they had to release something because Guccifer 2.0 was so criticized for saying that he had been the hacker when it didn't seem as though he could give us a straight piece of paper that demonstrated that he had a real document like the ones that WikiLeaks had. So those documents were fake. Guccifer 2.0 was made up. There never was one. It was what was a reaction of Comey finding out what the real breach and the real hack and the real espionage link that had been connected through Imran all the way from the DCC to Hillary to Podesta to the DCC to the DC leaks and to all of the information of these societies in Washington, D.C. that were all hacked at once, supposedly, but none of them were hacked.
But the bottom line is Guccifer 2.0 is James Comey.
Correct.
All right.
I know it took me a long time to say that.
I just
Sorry,
was
Betsy.
like, okay, that's it. Bottom line.
That was just another one of his operations. And we pointed this out from the beginning, and we laughed at it. We pointed fingers and laughed at this whole pathetic operation because it was so pathetic. And now Mueller wants to say that he can name, this is beautiful, he can name the very street that this IP address is located to. Well, what if it was a laptop? I mean, this is the stupidest stuff I've ever heard in my life.
Actually, as you describe these events, I realize you've got this old guard that doesn't really know how technology works.
He's
they really
an idiot.
don't. No, but they really don't. And then you've got this young group that's out here in the Patriot movement that really gets how it works, and they're calling this bluff.
You have the people in the 13 first named Russian hackers, or wait, no, they were espionage. They were Russian Putin bots who went in and bought $100,000 worth of ads. We now know that those ads were both for Trump, against Trump, for Hillary, against Hillary. They were actually setting off the extreme left against the extreme right. It had nothing to do with Trump, had little to do with anything except chaos. But that information comes from 2014. So he couldn't even get that straight. If he had read the New York Times article on it, which I assumed is the entire basis of that stupid claim, he'd realize that there was a second article written afterwards making him into an idiot because the writer of that article who had exposed that back in 2014 pointed out none of those people were working in the 2016 election and where they were now. So people went and interviewed them and they said, what? I don't do that anymore. I'm doing this and this. And no, I haven't worked for them. No, we didn't do that. And really, we were so strapped for money even in those days. Blah, 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 blah. No, our job was chaos. It wasn't Trump. Who cares about a president in America? So, these people, they actually talked to them and they said they didn't come to America. That's all fake. So Mueller is producing evidence. That's what he's known for. Producing fake evidence and hiding the real evidence. So that's what the investigation is all about, is producing the evidence that these people entered this country. And or, I love this one, the new one, that Guccifer 2.0 is a Russian in basically the Russian Secret Service, the GRU, and they know exactly what street he lives on, his exact IP address, and his name. And they somehow are going to show us probably somewhere some fake evidence where that indicates that, well, listen.
Wait a minute, he'll be on drugs and he'll have a crazy childhood and, their whole shtick for their false flag operations.
There's not a single data person involved in the Mueller team. So who did the data collection? Who did the data to figure out who Guccifer 2.0 was when the entire FBI was standing on their head trying to figure it out, when Comey was trying to investigate that, when the entire 17 intelligence agencies did their 2016, given out in December, said that the Russians didn't do that. Why didn't they get Guccifer 2.0 then?
But Mueller and his 16, 17 attorneys figured it out?
Yeah.
I mean, tell me about these attorneys that are working with him now that this is coming out. If they continue this, aren't they complicit in this criminality?
Well, they're first complicit in a coup d'etat because they know the dossier's fake and their boss, Rod Rosenstein, signed one of those fake FISA warrants on Carter Page. So that's the conspiracy and they're part of it. Okay, so that part is illegal. The other part is they don't have a crime, so they're not duly constituted. You can't create a special counsel if there wasn't a crime. They're looking for a crime. That's stupid. It's a frame job, a legal framing. But that's part of the continuing attempt for an impeachment and a coup of Trump. So now that we know that they were supposed to have investigated the DNC hack, the Russian hacking, that's the number one thing. The hacking was they tried to pin it on Trump. So it was Trump who worked with Putin to hack the DNC. That's what Hillary said, and got the WikiLeaks revealed, and that's what lost her the election. So they had to look at that. So he would have found what I'm telling you because an idiot could have found it. Anyone who looks at it finds it. So then when he didn't act upon it, and he hasn't interviewed any of those people, and Imran Awan has yet to be interviewed even for his espionage, even though the Inspector General of the Congress says he is guilty on all counts, Mueller is now an enemy of the state through his complicit participation in this absurd coup d'etat. And to try to name Guccifer 2.0 as a Russian officer in the GRU after he tried to get Yevgeny Nuklin and Kim.com and any other person that he could possibly please beg to say they did this for Putin is so pathetic that I really don't even have words for it, folks. We pointed out the 29 crimes of Comey. I did not put in there 28 crimes. I did not put the 29th crime, which I could have, but the conclave said, no, that's enough, that's enough. The 29th crime certainly could have been, and would have been on the list, because I would have probably listed 40 of them, is the treasonous act of creating the fake scenario of the DNC hacking by Russians, and the fact that Guccifer 2.0 is in fact an FBI counterintelligence operation. And then trying to blame it on Russians, and then now he's going to blame it on a Russian that he's indicting that he can't even get here, will never question. Boy, Mueller, you are disgustingly pathetic.